So yes, that is the High Observer's proposition. He says, I will be leaving here in 4 days at most. Let me know of your disposition before then, so that I am not wasting my time.
We will certainly let you know.
And Torin Hayroth will spin after giving a curt nod and walk out. At which point, the marble golem standing by like the doorway still. It also, my master has commanded me to field emissary inquiries for each of you, and there are emissaries who wish to see you all, or most of you, individually. There is someone here, a Mordecai Loric, a prefectus of Axis, who wishes to speak with Jasmine, and will do so separately. There is a Paladin of the Great Gold Worm, a Marshal Callan Rikus, who wishes to speak with Geráck separately. And there is a... You imagine the marble golem also almost wrinkles its nose. A sorcerer wizard, Solana of House Lutris, who wishes to commune with Aranas Vaelduth.
Oh.
The golem looks over at Aurelia and Tempus. For you two, there are no specific inquiries. You are welcome to wait out in the courtyard. There's a lovely little grove, there's a beautiful mountain, and some wonderful statues. In the words of my master, though, get the hell out of his office.
It's good to see Terapsis has rubbed off on you.
She has no remark for that.
Suppose I'll go to my meeting.
Yep,
Yes.
Geráck will do the same.
Aurelia and Tempus will be escorted out into the courtyard, which does look wonderful and lovely, and spring is in the air everywhere you look around.
We'll just dance arm in arm around the park.
Aurelia's going to take a nap.
Okay, you most certainly can.
Bit of different ideas there.
Then Astrid will walk away, leaving you two out there.
Tempus dancing around Aurelia napping.
Yes. we'll handle meeting with Jasmine first. Go ahead and roll your Emperor dice for me, Dark.
Sure. I'm just using my macro because it's going to be easier for this.
Sure, that's fine. Okay, you have a 6 there. 6 will be sufficient. The individual here appears to be in his mid to late 50s. You would recognize him, if only through reputation. This is one of the prefectus. This is a prefectus of Axis. He is a incredibly powerful bureaucrat who beats the shit out of other bureaucrats through legislative and diplomatic proceedings. He is a emissary and diplomat of the Dragon Empire. He is also a taxman. He has handled many things in the service of the Emperor, and his name carries dread reputation for businesses from Axis to Glitterhagen to Concord to even Drakenhall.
Looks creepy as fuck.
When this man comes knocking, asking to audit your shit, you go, fuck! Here!
So,
You've been paying your adventurer tax, right?
Yes. He is sitting in a small cloistered office, which is soundproof, and he says, Jasmine Rose of House Vayne, do come in, please, do come in. He has this annoying quality, like, even for you, of, like, not really looking up from, like, his sheafs of, like, papers, as he's, like, gesturing you in.
Prefectus Loric. It's an honor.
Ah, good. It's good to see that your father taught you the courtesy of knowing how great I am. He will certainly get right down to it. He is not a man for pleasantries. In a curious twist, while the Archmage is willing to compromise with druids, the Dragon Emperor will not buckle to them. He will... It's short of a command, but it comes pretty close to Jasmine. Mordecai Loric here wants you to travel to the House of the Moon. It is a dungeon that is south of Horizon in the mountains. Enter during the full moon and retrieve a sacred contract forged several ages ago, which can command a service from the High Druid herself. long time ago, the Dragon Emperor and the High Druid made a deal at the time. It was several ages back. And there was 3 services in total that the High Druid agreed to perform for the Dragon Emperor. 2 of those were done. Last one still left outstanding. And having this beautiful contract that's magically like embedded and sealed, you can present it to the High Druid and go, now we're gonna get this fucking service from you, bitch. And it's gonna be you not attacking the Dragon Empire. He will also tell you a bit about the dungeon. It's dug into a mountaintop. It is south of Horizon. It changes with the phases of the moon, which is why you need to go in during the full moon. When the moon is new, the dungeon is mostly empty, with a few monsters and not much treasure to be salvaged. And the moon fluctuates. The dungeon fluctuates depending on which phase of the moon you're in. The full moon ended up being the most challenging, but also the one where you can actually retrieve the contract, which demands 1 more service still from the High Druid. In addition to that wonderful little contract thing, which would totally be able to compel the High Druid, or so Mr. Contract Tax Douchebag Man thinks, you would get 3 epic tier runes, and there would be 1 more item that would come your way, and this would be specifically for Jasmine, should she be able to convince the party to agree for this. This is an ancient and powerful item, a wondrous crown, that marks its bearer as someone who is destined for great things. He actually has it with him, and he holds it out and he lays it on the table, but not to touch it until you've agreed. It's deceptively fragile looking. It's made of feathers that glow with magical colors, and Mordecai Lork will suggest that if you were to wear it, it will glow with the heraldry of House Vayne. It was created by forces many ages ago as a reward for service by the Great Goldworm itself, and is particularly beholden to the Emperor. This is an artifact item, and would be exclusive to Jasmine given her extensive connection with the Emperor, providing severe bonuses, and it's got one hell of a quirk.
I'm sure it does.
This is an artifact on par to the Orb of Storms. And in exchange for you performing this task, the Emperor... This was basically like direct approval from the Dragon Emperor himself. You, Jasmine Rose of House Vayne, would be given this. But if you folks don't feel like you're up to the task, they're just going to send another adventuring group, and perhaps someone who's more dedicated to the Emperor will get this artifact instead.
What's the time limit?
Well, considering how the druids are gabbing about attacking the Dragon Empire, now. If you don't give them a response in several days, I'm sure there's plenty of other epic tier adventurers who've, centralized themselves around the growing and warming horizon. You'll find some others. While he's While he's speaking with you about that, we'll focus on Geráck next. Geráck, why don't you roll for me your Great Gold Worm dice?
Sure.
Okay,
Yay.
You would recognize this individual. He is aged, and he has seen quite a bit of battle as you enter into the small, separated off room, which again has soundproofing and is magically warded. This is a prominent paladin who has devoted several decades of service to the Great Gold Worm. He is a witchfinder who has hunted the entire Dragon Empire, searching for creatures of chaos and destruction. He has slain a number of demons and crushed undead beneath his boots for quite a number of years. He has fully devoted himself and given himself to the efforts of the Great Gold Worm. He is severe and austere, thinking that trappings are what corrupt people and lead them down dark paths. But his heart is committed to the Great Gold Worm.
Alright. As Geráck enters, he will sort of bow and say, just, greetings, Marshal.
He'll extend his hand out to shake Geráck's. Despite his advanced age, he is still a large man, and says, "It is good to see you, Geráck of House Zold. I have heard greatly of you, and this is my first time being in your illustrious presence."
Geráck will shake his hand and say, I have heard the same about you. Truly a devoted servant.
He smiles and says, "It is a shame that we must meet in such bleak times, but it is duty that commands me to present myself before you with a task that I personally could not resolve. I am fresh from the seawall, myself and my companions. Many paladins have congregated there in time past. With the sighting of a Thomas Tennell, I am sure you've heard of the name. He is the confirmed scion, singular scion, of the great gold worm himself."
I have indeed heard of him, yes.
He sighs heavily. I've been trying to convince him for months to get off the wall. He's hiding from his destiny, or he's eluding it, or denying it. But he just won't listen. He's thrown himself into his task there on the seawall, and he's congregated a few hundred paladins, who would normally be out doing other things, to the seawall there. Not that I don't think the seawall is important, but that there is something more. And he will begin to explain. This world needs a lot of saving. The Great Gold Worm could do that, but it's currently preoccupied. And Callan Rikus thinks there's one man who could spare that worm. Thomas Tennell. The party would venture there, all the way out to the seawall. He's actually become the outright leader and commander of Cape Thunder, after the previous several have died. So he leads Imperial forces there. Venture there and convince him to leave the seawall by one means or another, and then travel with him into the abyss, along with that same company of paladins, to hold the massive gulf, while the Great Gold Worm takes a breather, and does some other things that the Dragon Empire needs. In exchange, the group, among, such a wonderful boon of effectively fucking, holding the abyss and what stories and chronicles that will be, for, being part of something so massive that it's able to spell the Great Gold Worm out of there for a while. There's also some other rewards as well that the Marshal does have on hand that he could offer to the group. 500 gold pieces, 2 champion tier healing potions, 1 epic tier Belt of Humility, and a champion tier Shield of Fate Aversion. Now the belt, I will go ahead and describe first out of those items. It is, as noted, a Belt of Humility. It's a simple leather belt, which, as it turns out, is epic tier, so it'll give you 3 extra recoveries. It's a simple leather belt. It's not much marvel to look at, but it allows you to automatically succeed at a saving throw, including a death save, or to use a recovery to heal, but only when you really need it. You may only use this item when you're at 10 hit points or less, or in a similarly dire situation. After using the belt, you must repay your debt to the cosmos, either by sacrificing another true magic item, or by undertaking a quest with no hope of reward.
Oh. Jesus.
Yes, its default bonus gives you the 3 extra recoveries, and its active bonus can allow you to get out of any fucking save if you're at low enough hit points. So that means, if you're dying and on death's door...
Save or die.
But in exchange, it's a Belt of Humility, and it promotes good, which is what the Great Gold Worm does. The second item is a shield, which does provide the typical bonuses of shields, which I cannot recall off the top of my head in sight immediately. I can go, however, into the Shield of Fate aversion, however, and describe it. The burnished shield bears the symbol of the Great Gold Worm. His wings stretch protectively over the whole world. Once per level, when you take a campaign loss, you may invoke the shield's power to avert the worst effects of the loss. Bad stuff still happens, but events conspire to give you a fighting chance to put things right. To take the example from the book, if you're on your way to rescue a captive from an unholy sacrifice, and you take a campaign loss through fleeing, And without the shield, the captive gets sacrificed. With the shield, maybe the captive's bleeding out when you arrive in the ritual chamber. If you get close to her quickly, you can save her life. Or maybe she's dead, but there are spirits of light fending off the summoned demon, so you've a chance to save her soul from being consumed. So yes, as a champion tier item, this would give you plus 10 maximum hit points. The powers of light look a lot more favorably on campaign losses suffered because of really unfortunate dice rolls than they do on losses incurred through hesitation, bad decisions, or cowardice.
Alright.
So if there's like two hard choices that you really get into, and it's basically like, fuck, like, we haven't gotten like a full heal up, we have to take this challenge head on, and you get like your ass kicked. Well, with that Shield of Fate aversion, you're able to like ameliorate the worst effects of that.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, so 500 gold pieces, 2 champion tier healing potions, the epic tier Belt of Humility, the champion tier Shield of Fate aversion. He'll say that there isn't explicitly a time limit on this, but, you know, that's because he's tried his damnedest. Every paladin he knows of who's been able to be spared has tried this. Thomas has not left, either, like, eluding or denying his destiny. And Marshall here is not entirely sure how much longer this fucking world has.
Indeed not. Huh.
But if
We
the
might
Great
be able
Gold Worm
to-
can just be spared, just some time, like, he can make things right.
Why does he want to stay there exactly? Does he just want to evade his fate, or is it because the wall would crumble if he left?
It's a mixture of all of that, yes. He's citing as the primary example Thomas, from what the Marshal is saying, that if Thomas leaves, because he is the actual leader now of the Imperial defenses there, Seawall would fall apart. Sea monsters would fucking, like, sweep over, like, the entire southern part of the Dragon Empire, fucking go nom on Newport and shit, and then keep running through. And as it turns out, Thomas apparently doesn't want that. At least that's what Thomas believes would happen. And also, he perhaps is just trying to deny that, yeah, well, he might be the scion of the Great Gold Worm. He's not, like, that's not his, like, no, he's not important enough.
Alright. We do have some forces of our own. Maybe we could relieve him to go relieve the Great Gold Worm.
Marshall nods. Perhaps, Geráck. Anything. I tried and just wasn't able to get him out of there. He has certainly congregated a number of paladins there on his side, though, who think they know they're fighting for the scion.
Indeed.
Well, that meeting is happening, too. There is a third meeting transpiring over on yonder. Manaki, can you roll your Elf Queen dice?
Can certainly do that.
Okay, that is a 6. Solana of House Lutris. She's almost as old as the Elf Queen. She went to Horizon. Can't say how many years it's been ago. But she, along with many other high elves, wanted to escape from the drama of the shards and wanted to apply themselves to some other pursuits. Solana enjoys being able to one-up the human wizards, who think they have a better understanding of magic than she does. She is more than happy to demonstrate that's inherently untrue. She is illustrious, flamboyant, dresses in wonderful colors, and as you can see from the portrait there, has a tendency of looking down her nose at people. Although that is not done so much at you. She'll say, "Greetings, Aranas Vaelduth, one of the numerous children of our queen. It is good to see you in such health."
You'll give her a respectful bow, and she says, Solana of House Lutris. I do not believe we have met before, but it is good to meet you. I'm curious as to why, however.
I have received word from your mother, of all people, who first wanted to commend you on the wonderful actions that you have taken here in support of the Unbloods. They would surely be lost without your assistance.
He nods, conceding that yes, that's probably right.
She continues, "Your mother and the entire Imperial Court has heard much about the world, and we have strong reason to believe, as you know it's most likely true that an orb of storms is sitting there off in the mountains, just to the west of our Court of Stars.
Yes, I have seen it with my own eyes.
And she'll go on to explain that, well, as you well know, elves don't much care for undead. The Elf Queen would quite fancy that Orb of Storms. Of course, how the hell are you gonna obtain that? I mean, it's like, there's like an entire fucking castle there. There's like undoubtedly like armies of undead bullshit. It's like guarded, there's like a fucking prince there. Well, as it turns out, the elves know of a powerful Elder Naga who lives north of the Queen's Wood. It is ferocious and often devours visitors, but if it can be beaten, it would doubtlessly offer hidden information in exchange for its life, such as the phylactery of Prince Zarza. And once you learn that, then, well, you could, say, attempt to destroy that, or even just by taking the phylactery, if you can, and then trading it for the Orb of Storms. Surely the Lich Prince is gonna say, oh fuck, I don't want to lose that, take the orb. The Elf Queen doesn't care about the specifics beyond that, she just wants the Orb of Storms. Like, how you go about getting it, that's great. Like, the Elder Naga's, like, her suggestion that Solana here gives you, but if you can find another way, that's cool. Ultimate goal, she wants the Orb of Storms. In exchange for that, in addition to winning incredible favor, which you would get upon actually delivering the Orb of Storms, you would have a reward simply for accepting this mission, which is 2 epic tier potions of fire resistance and cold resistance and lightning resistance, along with 2 epic tier potions of heroism, which allow you, once per battle or for 5 minutes, to get a temporary incremental advance that you don't already have that isn't a spell or a power. So you, say, for example, could take the extra hit points advance for a battle. And
skill checks.
yes, or +1 to skill checks. Greater reward would be given, perhaps an artifact of similar measure and power from the Elf Queen's own stores. Were you able to successfully deliver the Orb of Storms? But simply agreeing to this, as it turns out, Solana trusts you well enough as one of the Elf Queen's numerous children. Surely you'll whip your party together and get it done. This one, however, I mean, Solana will say, she'll nominate that it does have a time limit, like she's constantly going to be asking other people if she thinks is worthy of this to do this, but realistically, anyone she asks, a group, is probably going to die to the damn Naga. So this technically doesn't have too much of a time limit, only that eventually something else might be done to the Orb of Storms, or someone else might get it.
Yeah. Well,
yes, but on during this would be an agreement to, once you get the Orb of Storms, by any means, to give it to the Elf Queen.
All right. We shall certainly confer with his allies and companions.
And while those meetings are taking place, we look over at Aurelia and Tempus in the courtyard. Tempus is dancing, I think, and Aurelia is laying down on like a bench trying to get a nap. While the beautiful,
Come on, Aurelia, come on, let's dance.
Well, the beautiful the statues and whatever, like, sit and rest around. Tempus, your sensitive ears catch a sound burbling from one of the fountains. Tempus Malleator. It is actually as if the fountain itself is burbling words at you.
Tempus will shimmy himself over to the fountain.
Tempus Malleator. Greetings.
Greetings, fountain.
I don't have much time or capability.
Do you want me to call a plumber?
No, Tempus. That is all right. I am surprised to see you out of cube form. Good to know that you are active in this world.
I admit, it's hard to get an idea, but it's good to be active.
In your semi-absence of this world, many events have transpired. One of which being a contract of sorts. a deal. Contracts are my business, and I abhor when a contract is violated. The fountain burbles and, like, hisses angrily.
And which contract is this?
The intellect assassin within Dwohiram, your longtime traveling companion, made a contract, made a deal, and he has not lived up to his end of the bargain. And I hate people who don't live up to their end of the bargain. His contract has created an indelible bond, a link, through which he can be tracked. He is being tracked now. His location is known. And I would like for someone, you, who travel with him for so long, at least the mortal Dwohiram, to put an end to the intellect assassin who is controlling your longtime traveling companion's body like a meat puppet. We can consider this a contract of our own. I do like making deals. And the voice from the fountain, burbling and hissing as it is, will say to Tempus that basically what this fountain voice wants is for the intellect assassin within Dwohiram to die. Be dead. No more. Doesn't care what you do with Dwohiram's body afterwards. You can raise him. You can, like, cremate him. That's what's done in Horizon, by the way. Cremation of bodies. Like, that's what they do. They don't do that shit like burying people. They fucking, like, perform massive rituals and just burn it all.
Why would they have corpses lying around? You know,
that sounds pretty fucking stupid. Yeah. And so yes, the voice from the fountain doesn't care what you do with Dwohiram's body afterwards. You can do whatever you want. Its vendetta is not against Dwohiram. It's against the entity who is living inside of Dwohiram and controlling Dwohiram's body and using Dwohiram's magic and, like, manipulating Dwohiram's, like, icon relationship connections. This voice from the fountain wants that entity dead. Gone. No bargaining. No negotiating. You murder it viscerally. Don't torture it. It just dies. Instantaneously.
It seems like a very simple contract in regards to the end goal. Getting to that goal is the hard part.
To facilitate with that, this voice in the fountain would pinpoint Dwohiram's exact location, and through the contract connection, would begin to sabotage the intellect assassin's magic, so that it was harder that the intellect assassin had a harder time using that magic specifically while fighting you. Not just you, but your entire group. To facilitate that process. It's not going to spit out the location of Dwohiram, or willy-nilly, because, it thinks that maybe it'll offer it to some other folks who are willing to resolve this contract dispute, because it hates it when contracts aren't fulfilled. Perhaps a very lawful being, which is why it is willing to offer this deal. So yes, it wants the intellect assassin dead. It is willing to tell you where it is, and as a matter of fact, even give you constant feedback on, like, what plans of the intellect assassin might be. The contract link apparently gives a whole lot of information, and even assist in sabotaging Dwohiram's magic. In exchange, you kill the intellect assassin, and it's even willing to offer you some other benefits. Because, as it turns out, man, this thing must really hate this intellect assassin. If you're able to convince the entire group to pursue this goal, which would need to be done sooner the better, preferably within the next few days, the group will receive an epic tier sword belt of the Slayer, epic tier bracers of redemption, and a champion tier clockworker's goggles. Now you might be like, what the fuck is all of that shit? It sounds amazing! Holy fucking shit! Well, I'll tell you. The sword belt of the Slayer is a quick action item that it's a belt you wear it, so it would give you sheep. Recharge 6. You are drawn to prey on the weak and dying. When you use the belt, you get a +1 bonus to your attack as long as you attack the enemy with the fewest hit points, and as it's an epic item, that bonus lasts until the end of battle. So, as it's a belt, its default bonus is +3 recoveries, and then, basically, during a battle, until the end of a battle, you get a +1 bonus to your attack roll, as long as you attack the enemy with the fewest hit points. And God is obliged to tell you who has the fewest hit points if that's necessary for a power to affect you. So I would tell you on the battlefield who has the fewest hit points. So there's that item. Then there's the epic tier Bracers of Redemption. Bracers are a monk weapon. And perhaps Aurelia would be hearing about this wonderful shit too. Hell, maybe she might even wake up while the fountain is burbling at you.
Just an ear open. Huh? Why is Tempus dancing over that fountain?
I mean,
What was that a
Are you
plumber?
talking to a fountain again, Tempus? Never mind.
Yes.
I'll go back to sleep.
Yes. The Bracers of Redemption are epic tier, which means as a weapon, they would provide a +3 bonus to attack rolls and to damage rolls. They also have a secondary effect. Once per level, when you defeat an enemy with this weapon, you may choose to redeem that foe instead of slaying them. The redeemed foe sees the transcendent divine glory of the gods of light, or the face of the priestess, or maybe they just see the fiery hell that awaits them when they die. In any event, they immediately undergo a Road to Santa Cora conversion to your faith and abjure their former ways. This conversion may be genuine and long-lasting, or it may wear off in time as your foe returns to their wicked ways, but in the short term, the defeated foe will give what aid and information they can. This conversion process often involves short-term memory loss and confusion. Seeing the light of the gods is a traumatic experience, so a converted enemy may not be as helpful as one might hope. Defeated foes have hit points equal to their level instead of being dropped to 0 hit points and won't fight for you. Pacifism and self-sacrifice are common side effects of forcible redemption.